Hello and welcome to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. I'm Finn McDermott and here are your top stories on Monday, the 30th of March. Shattered the lives of so many people. Drunk driver who blamed his girlfriend for a double fatal collision has been sentenced to 17 years in prison.
I'm at Maidstone Crown Court, where a couple from Rochester have just been sentenced to a combined 18 months for a situation which caused the deaths of 2 people.
Cheaper stays, busier days. Parking cut aims to boost Canterbury footfall after meningitis outbreak.
For me personally, as someone who lives in Dover, who drives up and uses the park and ride in and out of town every time I do this, that's fantastic news for me.
And sleep out under the stars. Royal British Veterans Enterprise takes on the annual Great Tommy Sleep Out Challenge.
To me, it means so much. It's what we stand for. It's about supporting people who have served. It's about the work that we do on our village to support veterans.
But first tonight, a man who blamed his girlfriend for a collision in Rochester that claimed the lives of 2 people has been sentenced to more than 17 years behind bars. Isadora Olim, who's 35, received that sentence today at Maidstone Crown Court, 3.5 years after causing the death of friends Andrew Cass and Neil Harris in 2022. He was sentenced alongside his girlfriend Isabel Nunez for 2 counts of causing death by dangerous driving, 2 counts of causing serious injury by dangerous driving, and a count of perverting the course of justice. Nunez received a shorter sentence on the single count of perverting the course of justice. Chloe Brewster watched the sentencing earlier today and has prepared us this report.
I'm at Maidstone Crown Court, where a couple from Rochester have just been sentenced to a combined 18 months for a situation which caused the deaths of 2 people. Here's what happened. So in October 2022, a group of friends had been heading back from a night out in Gravesend. They'd been listening to music and having a good time. But on the way back, one of the members of the group realised they'd lost their phone and ended up on City Way in Rochester to look for it. After having not found the phone, they decided to continue on with their journey, heading towards Rochester city centre. It's in that moment that tragedy struck. The friend's Skoda was hit by a BMW hurtling along the road in the opposite direction. They'd been travelling at more than double the speed limit. The collision killed the back passengers, Andrew Cass and Neil Harris, with husband and wife Lawrence Smith and Sue Smith left injured in the front. Later, witnesses remarked seeing Isadora Olim, 35, from Rochester, wandering around the scene. He was on his phone, but not to emergency services, to his girlfriend Isabel Nunes, who had been at home the entire time. It was then Nunes and Olim began to hatch a plan, with both deciding to blame Noon for the collision. The court heard that Olim had been heading back from a night of drinking in Gillingham and by passing Bayham avoided a roadside breathalyzer test. Noon stuck to his story, telling police that she didn't have time to brake. But in January of the following year, both came clean, and earlier this month, both pled guilty in court. Today, in front of a packed courtroom, Judge Oliver Saxby delivered a lengthy prison sentence to Olim. He said the couple had acted in brazen deceit and said a catastrophic situation had been caused by Olim's dangerous driving. He said, "What you did, Mr. Olim, has shattered the lives of so many people. Andrew Cass is genuine, kind, patient, someone with no agenda. And Neil Harris is described as the 4th leg of his family's table, unassuming, someone interested in finding the positive in people. Both are so loved and cherished and desperately missed. The lives of the Casses and the Harrises will never be the same by what you did. You have consigned them to sorrow and grief, which they'll feel at every moment of the day, and which that will last a lifetime." Olim was sentenced to 17 years and 2 months in prison, and that's for 2 counts of causing death by dangerous driving, 2 counts of causing serious injury by dangerous driving, and another count of perverting the course of justice. He cried as his sentence was read out. From Isabel Nunes, 14 members of her family sat tearful in the public gallery, watching her be sent down. She was served with 20 months in custody for 1 count of perverting the course of justice.
Now, a serial shoplifter has been imprisoned after being arrested for robbing a petrol station with a fake gun in Sittingbourne. CCTV footage, which you can see now, showed Michael Pollock storming into a BP petrol garage with a fake weapon and threatening to shoot the staff. He was recognised after he'd called up the shop on the same day before attempting to raid it last October. In court, his defence claimed he had robbed the store to pay for medication for his ill father and that he was sorry for his behaviour. He was sentenced earlier this week at Maidstone Crown Court, where he'll serve more than 6 years in prison. More than 60 people have signed a petition for increased road safety measures outside a primary school in Iowade near Sittingbourne after concerns were raised surrounding children's safety. Parents say that the recent housing development in the area has led to the need for a road crossing or lollipop person. It comes after several near misses where children had tried to cross the road and an increase in local traffic over the last decade. There had been a lollipop person working outside the school gate, but they had resigned in 2019 and are yet to be replaced. A spokesperson for the council said they are aware of the concerns but have been unable to recruit a crossing officer, and a reassessment is needed to determine if funding is still available. Reform's leader Nigel Farage has admitted many of the councils the party won last year were left unsupported, saying he was more focused on winning rather than what came afterwards. He added, "Perhaps I was too focused, perhaps obsessively, on May the 1st without much afterthought on what would come on May the 2nd. Our local democracy reporter Ollie Leader spoke to him recently.
Obviously, earlier on when we were speaking to candidates down in East Grinstead, you mentioned that there's going to be a unit out to help them, that don't overpromise is something that you've mentioned numerous times on the campaign trail. And obviously we have seen there's been a bit of turbulence at some of the other councils. Obviously we've seen defections over at Kent County Council just up the road. Do you think that's an admission that things perhaps weren't as smooth after last year's elections as you would have liked?
I think I was running very hard up until the line of May the 1st with quite limited resources in terms of money and in terms of personnel. And perhaps I was fully focused, perhaps obsessively focused, on May the 1st, without much of an afterthought for what came on May the 2nd and afterwards. And maybe we weren't. And to be frank, I didn't really expect that level of success. I was overwhelmed with the level of success, and we didn't have the infrastructure to support it. There were councils like Lancashire and Durham, where our council leaders had run councils already. And quite a lot of our elected candidates were old school. They'd been there before. But many other councils where they were, in political terms, quite virginal, and perhaps we didn't quite have the party structure at the centre to give them the level of support to begin with that they would have needed. And I'm going to make sure that on May the 8th, that is very different. And that is part of our maturity as an organisation. It's part of our professionalisation as an organisation. So look, you know, I can accept that when you build something from nothing into a huge organisation in terms of votes, that sometimes the structure doesn't quite keep up with the success that we've had. We will be much better prepared this year, I promise you.
Now, parking costs in Canterbury are set to be temporarily lowered following a drop in foot traffic after the meningitis outbreak. This is all to help support local businesses, and so the council has decided to reduce parking charges over the Easter holidays. During the school break, the park and ride service will cost just £1 for the entire day, down from the usual £4. Maisie Walker visited Canterbury to speak with local businesses and tourists about whether they welcome the change.
As the Easter holidays approach, Canterbury is typically packed with tourists and residents, but this year, local businesses are still feeling the effects of a drop in foot traffic following the recent meningitis outbreak. In response, Canterbury City Council has announced reduced parking charges over the Easter period, in an effort to encourage visitors back into the city and support struggling businesses. One of the venues at the centre of the outbreak, Club Chemistry, has now reopened its doors.
So for us, really, it's more just about we have lost two young members of our community, and I feel like our job now is making sure that going forwards that means something, and that actually that memory is going to be used to protect a generation of people that otherwise are not going to be protected. I've been over everything. There is nothing we could have done.
Like many businesses in the area, it experienced a loss of income during the outbreak, and concerns about trade remains across the community.
The streets are starting to pick up, but not as busy as they used to be.
Local businesses are concerned with their footfall low since the outbreak, but are hopeful things will start to pick up again.
There has been a dramatic decrease, and it's quite shocking because normally January and February is quiet and then the build-up starts at the beginning of March, and we've just seen probably a third of the footfall that we would have seen naturally.
Despite these challenges, there are hopes that initiatives like reduced parking will help bring people back into Canterbury and give local businesses a much-needed boost.
I think it's great for tourism, people coming to visit, because the car parks are very expensive.
Yeah, I think obviously if you make something cheaper, more people are going to want to come, even if it's not necessarily somewhere they're wanting to go. Because if they see, oh, £1 parking, you're going to want to go, because it feels like you're missing out otherwise.
For me personally, as someone who lives in Dover, who drives up and uses the park and ride in and out of town every time I do this, that's fantastic news for me because my cost of getting here has just been slashed in quarter. But for the locals, I'd like to hope so. I'd certainly like to hope so. The Easter holidays are always quite a nice, busy time anyway. There's a lot of stuff to see and do in Canterbury, so you'd hope that perhaps lowering the barrier of entry just might entice more people to go, oh, actually, it normally cost me £4 to park up, it's only going to cost me £1.
With businesses reopening and new measures in place, Canterbury is hoping for a very busy Easter and a steady recovery after a difficult few weeks. Maisie Walker for KMTV, Canterbury.
Well, that is all the time we have for in this part of the show. But coming up on the programme, we'll have the latest all on Easter. And are our eggs getting smaller? Well, we'll find out after this very short break. See you soon. Hello and welcome back to Kent Tonight, live here on KMTV. Now, a plan for 64 homes in Kingsdown near Deal has been voted through the council despite hundreds of opponents. The scheme for 64 two-storey houses off Ringwald Road, Kingsdown near Deal, led to 675 letters of objection. About 100 protesters poured into a council chamber and overspill room to hear a planning committee vote it through after a 2-hour debate on Thursday night. Their concerns included traffic dangers, overdevelopment and emergency service access. Lucy Wilford from the applications agents DHA Planning said that in spite of the pushback, the proposed growth is proportionate to the size of the area. Now, new photos have been released following positive progress of the restoration works of Folkestone's Lees Lift. It first opened in 1885 and is one of the very few left in operation across the country and has carried 36 million passengers in its lifetime. It closed in 2017 following braking issues and is being revamped but at a hefty price tag of £6.6 million. A spokesperson for the lift said despite unfavourable weather conditions, progress continues positively with milestones reached. The attraction is on track to reopen this summer. And with the recent spell of unusually warm weather, Kent has begun to see bluebells blooming across the county weeks ahead of their usual arrival in mid-April. One of Kent's most popular places to see the flower is Hull Park in Rolvenden, and it opened for its 2026 season last Saturday. It will open this Saturday, I should say. While the timing of Hull Park's annual Bluebell Spectacular display has varied each year, the garden's fourth-generation owner, Edward Barham, has said this year's bloom is the earliest on record, with bluebells appearing the very first week of March. Now, is it bluebell weather? This evening we're seeing partly cloudy skies, temperatures between 9 and 10 across the county, clear skies in the west, partly cloudy in the east. Into tomorrow morning, 9 and 10 degrees across the board. A lot of that cloud staying across the county with wind speeds dropping. And here is tomorrow afternoon, more of that cloud staying around. And here's your outlook. Wednesday, 14 degrees, more of that cloud, getting slightly milder to 13 degrees with some cloud remaining. Now, don't forget you can keep up to date with all your latest stories across Kent by logging on to our website, that's kmtv.co.uk. There you'll find all our reports, including this one about Ashford Model Railway Museum's grand opening.
So I'm absolutely thrilled to declare it open.
This ribbon-cutting ceremony has been years in the making. After battling COVID, rising cost, and location problems, Ashford Model Train Museum has opened a new unit showcasing railway wonders throughout history. This has been a dream of project lead Cliff Parsons, who's got the exhibit running whilst battling terminal kidney and lung cancer.
I'm so pleased for everybody and the nation. You know, this is for the nation and the hobby and the manufacturers to keep the hobby alive and to try and get children off their mobile phones and do something useful with their hands for a change.
It's been a pleasure helping Cliff realise his dream over these last 6 years since I got involved. Cliff's not been well, and I know in the early time that I got involved in 2019 and 2020 was perhaps not in a good way, but it's been really great to see how bringing the project to fruition, realising his dream, has really helped him battle with his cancer, get back on his feet and really get active again in the hobby. So, you know, doing this for Cliff it's been really, really worthwhile and very fulfilling.
The Mayor of Ashford was also in attendance to witness the grand opening.
I think, as I said earlier, I think God's got Cliff's back because there's limitless room for expansion here. So as this wonderful education centre grows, I think it's in the right place. So good luck to them all. It's a marvellous project. It is an education centre. It's so much more than just a railway exhibition.
The passion for model trains also goes beyond this celebration, proving the hobby is far from running out of steam. I'm sitting on the Spitfire line, which can take visitors around the building and was put together by volunteers, which really shows the passion for the train model building community. Henry Luck for KMTV in Ashford.
Now, the Royal British Veterans Enterprise has hosted its annual Great Tommy Sleep Out. The event has members of the charity and businesses braving a night of camping outside to raise money for the organisation. The money is then used to tackle the issue of rough sleeping by providing employment and housing. Our community reporter Henry Luck has been down to find out more.
It's that time of year again, when Royal British Veteran Enterprise volunteers and business owners take on the challenge of rough sleeping to raise money for a vital cause. The Great Tommy Sleep Out has returned, and many have gathered here at Detling Showground to spend the night in nothing but makeshift shelters. Many veterans from World War II and even today experienced rough sleeping like this, and the Great Tommy Sleep Out is all about raising awareness for the public to tackle the problem today. Many of the campers are ex-military and know what it's like to sleep under the stars almost every night.
Obviously we had more provisions and stuff available to us, but it gives you a sense of what military personnel actually go through on a daily basis, and it's something to take away for everyone, really. It sort of puts you in the shoes, or the boots, shall I say, of military personnel, both now and before. And I believe that obviously if anyone can experience something like this, it actually brings you closer to what this is all about.
From ever since being a child, being a boy playing in the woods, locally in Wales, to going on through my life experiences, this has just always been a part of my life. And I couldn't not turn this down. And also, yet again, it's for a very good cause.
To me, it means so much. It's what we stand for. It's about supporting people who have served. It's about the work that we do on our village to support veterans, and it brings communities together. So not only at events like this where people can come together, but across the country people are sleeping out. We're anticipating that almost 20,000 people will be taking part in the campaign up and down the country, and that might be at events like this where they get together with their work colleagues or groups, or they might be taking part on their own or with their families in their own back gardens.
So far, over £700,000 have been raised against a £750,000 target, meaning support for veterans is still ongoing even during the darkest of nights. Henry Luck for KMTV in Maidstone.
Great piece from Henry there. Next, shrinkflation is when we see a product reduce in size and right, but not in price. And there's no better example of this than with Easter eggs. Every year, the discussion around whether or not they're getting smaller is revisited. But did you know this may have something to do with the price and availability of cocoa beans? Well, our reporter Etterly Reynolds joins me now in the studio with more on this. So Etterly, right here, right now, we're answering the question, are they getting smaller?
So I have bad news then. They are actually getting smaller. According to which, the price of branded chocolate eggs has actually seen up to or more than a 40% increase in price. We can see this with one of the leading supermarkets, and a branded Easter egg would have cost £5.97 and weigh in at 210 grams in the past. But in 2025, so just last year, the same brand egg would be 252 grams and would cost £4.98. And this is where we see that 40% increase per 100 grams. Another one we see is where one Easter egg went from 231 grams to 194, yet the price only increased from £6 to £7.
I see. I'm hiding my immeasurable disappointment and I'm trying to remain professional. Can you tell us a bit about why exactly this is? Why are companies doing this to us and to the holiday?
So chocolate has actually become increasingly expensive over several years due to things such like extreme weather and poor harvest from where we get these cocoa beans from, especially in West Africa, where more than half of the world's cocoa beans are harvested. I actually spoke to a local chocolatier company in Rochester, and they explained to me a bit about what impacts this has on the business and what we might see.
So a lot of the issues we've seen with cocoa and chocolate prices over the last 2 years has been driven by the reports of the harvest not being great. So then there's a reaction from the market to either hold on to that cocoa or increase the price of it. So a lot of the issues we've seen chocolate pricing is down to uncertainty as much as anything else.
We haven't got long before we go, but how can shoppers make sure they're getting the best value for money?
So the best way you can make sure you're getting that value for money is by checking the price per 100 grams. So this just makes sure that you are getting the best price for the most amount of egg, a bit of bang for your buck, if you will, there.
Brilliant. OK, well, thank you so much for bringing us all the latest on this, Etaly. I'll keep my eyes out for any deals. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for now. But don't go anywhere. Just after this, we'll have our show, our sports show, in fact, Invictus Sports. As always, all the latest news on your sports timeline. You can also check out our website, kmtv.co.uk, for all our other news as well. But that's it from us here. Happy Easter.